Originally, I got here in 2017, in June of 2017. At first, I just came here kind of as a quick sort of visit to kind of get to know Latin America to some extent, and specifically Colombia. And I ended up amañándome. So I ended up staying here, and I kind of really haven't left since. The way that I learned about Colombia and Medellin was there was a family in the job that I worked in the U.S., which was I worked with a lot of Hispanic families and helping them gain access to educational services in the U.S. And one of the families had a special education kid that was from Medellin, and I thought it was they were just such a nice family and so kind with me that I just they kind of sparked an interest in coming here just to see the city, and after a while I just decided to kind of stay here. And I think a lot of people coming here would say first the weather, they say the food, they say all of these things, but honestly the reason why I've stayed here for so long is the people. Luckily, I'm fortunate enough to have the language ability to be able to really communicate effectively with the people here in Medellin, and I would say that has really been the enganche that has made me stay, is just how kind the people are and the way that they interact, and how I really feel like to some extent I'm part of like a family here. Like I'm not trying to say that I'm not a gringo or whatever, but I really do feel like this city in a lot of ways is kind of a home, if not a second home. Obviously where I'm from is where I'm from, and that'll always be where I'm from, and I love where I come from. But Medellin has definitely become a second home for me, for sure. I would say absolutely first and foremost, for me, I really love the language, and I think linguistically it's something that I just really enjoy. I come from a musical background, so for me, I feel like accents are really easy for me to kind of pick up, like the rhythm of the languages. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I can give you a quick example. Like, for example, I'll have a student that'll say something like, "Hey, teacher, why don't you give us more time, please?" Right? And I would say that's more of like the Paisa English rhythm, right? And like, but I think having my ear kind of tuned to that has helped me a lot. The other thing I would say is in university I studied a lot of Spanish, and I took a lot of classes of Spanish. But honestly, coming here, that didn't really help me as much. What really helped me was kind of the willingness to interact, and I think not being embarrassed to make mistakes is like the main thing, because you're always, anytime you learn a language, and especially if you're in a country of the language that you're learning, you're gonna run into situations where you feel stupid and you feel kind of embarrassed, and I think part of or one of the most important things about learning a language is kind of getting past that and continuing to try to communicate, even though you're making a lot of mistakes or you have some problems communicating, trying to kind of take it with like a sense of humor in a lot of ways, I think is incredibly important when learning a language. And obviously trying to sort of, everything you do in your life can also kind of turn into a language lesson, I believe. Whether it's turning your phone into the language you're learning, or whether it's trying to read kids' books. That was one thing that I did, was like some of my favorite books that I read when I was 5 years old or 6 years old. Were books that I tried when I was first learning Spanish. Those were books that I also read in Spanish. And I think kind of bringing your mentality to being a kid again and like learning like a kid, because it's amazing. I see every day when I'm working with my students, it's amazing how they're able to pick up language. And I think, I know it sounds weird, but maybe putting yourself in like a mindset of a kid learning a language, in a lot of ways you kind of can open a different mindset to learn the language, and to help it kind of solidify and practice, you know. When I first got here, I had like a dictionary in my phone, because I would just hear so many different, I mean, you think you know Spanish coming here, but you really don't, because there's so much colloquial language here that it's really, but it's also kind of the beauty of Spanish, right? So some specific words, I don't know if this is a groseria or not, like I don't think it is, but Zumbambico is one that I really like a lot, because it, you know, it's un niño inquieto. Okay, like your aunt or your uncle might say something like that. I learned that because I lived with an older lady when I first got here, and she taught me a lot of those colloquial words. Berraco, I really like that word as well. Amañar is a really good one. That's from here. Pues, I think is like really here. I mean, I know that's every dialect uses it, but the way that the Paisas use it is a very unique way, in my opinion. I really like it. Honestly, I would say a lot of people say, oh, a foreigner traveling, they go to a lot of different places, right? But honestly, I've kind of stayed in Medellin most of my time here. I've gone to pueblos, and I've gone to Bogota a couple times, and I had to, but truthfully, I've kind of maintained my stay here in Medellin, and also kind of in the surrounding pueblos here. Pueblear, that's another word that I like, and but to me, I can't really. Why have I stayed here? Because honestly, this city and this culture to me has kind of been lo que me ha encajado, me encaja. This type of the way that people interact here, just everything about it. And I mean, I also really enjoy going to the I'm from the El Campo, like I'm from more of a country setting, and so to me, also going to the pueblos and seeing sort of more of the countryside is to me very beautiful as well. And I would say that has really kind of, you know, I haven't really gone out of Colombia or Medellin so much, because, you know, I really feel like when you know, like when you know a place is right for you, you kind of feel that, and I definitely have felt that here in Colombia. Although I am going to La Guajira over Semana Santa, so I'm really excited about that. Yeah, and hopefully, you know, one thing, I guess a New Year's resolution is that I definitely want to spend more time going to the different parts of Colombia, because Colombia is such a diverse, culturally diverse, and you know, even the environment. I mean, it's one of the most biodiverse places in the world. I mean, there's so many things to see here. So that's a lot of other things that I need to get on as far as you know, going and visiting other places.